Welcome back to the Chasing Tone podcast. Today, I'm back again with Blake Weiland. Today, we're going to talk about several different things, and I will warn you beforehand, this is a bit more of a business entrepreneur episode today. So you might like this type of stuff, you might not. But we have had some questions, especially with what we talked about last week. We had some small business questions about, growing your small business. So we talked mainly about NAMM and about how it applies to smaller pedal builders, whether you should do it or not, and outside of the pedal business in general, with other industries and the conventions that they would go to, how it might help them or hurt them. So you might like this, you might not. If you do, stick around. If not, wait till next week and there'll be another new video that probably won't be business related. So let's jump into it right now.
Brian Wampler, the man, the myth, the legend. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing okay. I'm a little smelly today, though.
I'm glad that we do this remote then.
It's like 98 degrees here. And I'm in a metal I'm in a metal barn.
You've been put into the sweat box. You've been misbehaving, so the warden threw you in the sweat box.
It's the sweat shack today for sure. Yeah. So it's
it's a little warm here too, but not like that. It's just right.
Smells a bit like a locker room in here, actually. So not really good tonally related topic, but yeah. So if anyone is wondering what it's like when we're recording a podcast, basically it's me stripped down to my underwear, sweating like a middle-aged balding man, because that's what I am. Yeah.
I was gonna say it's not like that. It is that.
Oh, very true. Very true.
Hey guys, this isn't a scratch and sniff episode, fortunately. So don't rub your phone and then expect to try to, we're not to 4D yet. We're still working in the.
You would not want that chaos, So maybe whenever virtual reality comes into existence, maybe it'll have the sniffy component as well, and you get the full experience of the sweat shed.
And that's when we'll know that technology has gone too far.
And that's when the Chasing Tone podcast died.
Sometimes if you love something, you have to let it go. And I think that would be the time to let it go.
That'd be the time to stop. Hey, remember that time that I quit podcasting at episode 100 and then started up again like a month later? And and then I still had people on YouTube that were like, I wish you still did the podcast. I'm like, we've been doing it for like 2.5 more years now, man. That was it was 3 years ago.
Well, I think it's the YouTubers get confused because there was a handful, not a ton of people watched them back when you filmed them, but most people listened. People got used to it.
Yeah, we filmed the first 100, and then it's pretty boring watching 3 sweaty dudes sit in chairs and talk about stuff. I mean, it works for some people. Joe Rogan actually does some cool versions where he takes snippets and posts like little sections of interesting information, but he doesn't post the entire 3-hour show that I know of. Maybe he does. I don't watch it.
Well, I think I've been listening to his show.
I think.
Yeah, they live stream it to YouTube, and I think those go up, don't they? I don't know.
I have never, ever watched the live version of it. Probably because podcasts are way handier for me. I don't have
Same.
to. I mean, I listen to it when I'm on the tractor.
Mm-hmm. The one time I did is I got a notification somewhere that he was going live with Sturgill, and so I did tune into that one briefly because I was like, "Oh my man!"
That was a great episode. I listened to that one. I didn't watch it, but it was a great episode.
Mm-hmm.
Sturgill is a fascinating dude.
He is. He's one of my favorites. I think we've talked about that.
We did
at length.
Episode 194, 5 or 6 or 7, somewhere around there. Yeah,
or 12. So we're really over 200 episodes at this point. This is crazy.
We are. Let's see what we are. We are at. We just did 212 last week. So this is 21. I don't know if this is going to be 213 or 214 because I have a tone tips in there as well. So not sure which one's first.
Right. Well, and it makes me kind of scratch my head. We'll get into what we're going to talk about shortly, but it does. Yep. This has just kind of popped into my head. I I have not been nearly as consistent with Tone Mob as I'd like to be. That's, since been fixed. But, I was looking at the other day, I was like, I wonder, and I haven't actually counted them up to see, but I think I've done more Chasing Tone episodes than I have Tone Mob episodes altogether.
Well, you not quit, but you were at a serious lack of time for some of the Tone Mob stuff, right? For a period of time?
Yeah, for a while I was, most of the time with Tone Mob, I had my day job up until just recently. There for a while I was doing this show. I was working full time for in a different industry, while also, working on marketing projects with other brands.
Right.
And, have a family. And so it was like, the end of last year was not good for consistency with the Tone Mob episodes. I think there was a good 2.5 month gap that was completely unintentional. So I couldn't even warn people that it was coming. It ended up. And then there's the other challenge too, is it's not just my schedule. Sometimes with doing it with guests, it makes it challenging.
Because especially if they're really busy,
Yeah, they have things going on too. So it was like trying to coordinate 2 super busy people to be able to sit down for an hour.
Right. And with me, I'm a full-time pooper scooper. The guitar pedal gig is just like my side hustle.
Right.
So whenever I'm not out scooping up poop behind horses at festivals and parades and stuff, usually I'm in this barn, so you can pretty much call me and say, hey, you in a podcast? And I can usually shove some things off, just shove that breadboard off the side of the table. Mm-hmm. I'm ready, Blake. Let's do this.
Well, and now, you've seen it with what, when we're recording and stuff. Like I've got, I don't really have much more time, just like you don't really have just a ton of time, but we can allocate it as necessary, basically. Right. I don't have too much more actual time, but, I guess we all have the same amount of time, don't we? There's 24 hours in a day. But it's just, things have been more flexible, and therefore I'm finally getting back on track. But yeah, I think I'm at episode 75 for Tone Mob. And I think I've done over 100 Chasing Tone at this point, which is really bizarre.
Yeah, I think you have at least 200. Yeah, if not, it's pretty close to 100. So I know that. Did I say at least 200? I mean at least 100. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's at least 100, but it's weird to think about, because I very much view it as your thing that I help out with, where Tone Mob is my thing, and it's like, wait a second. I've got this backwards. No, I love it. I love doing it. Anyway, 7 minutes and 30 seconds in. What are we talking about today?
Well, there is this little thing that happens twice a year that all these different music companies go to. People from the outside world, such as retailers and even some of the players, some of the actual customers who buy the products, come to the show. Excuse me. Sorry, man.
Whoa.
Good old allergies in Indiana. My throat got all stuffy for a second. But anyways.
Oh, man. Glad you survived.
Whew. Sorry about that. Hopefully I didn't cough in everyone's ear like I just did Blake's. But 2 different microphones. Anyways. People go to this event and they play on stuff and we have fun and we hang out. And they, if they're a good customer, they'll bring me a cup of coffee or a beer. A nice cold, and not just like any beer. Like I do have, so there are a few guys that know that I like, local brewery type stuff. I like trying, local brewery stuff. So they'll bring me a special one from wherever they're from, So that's nice of them. Yeah. What other things do I get? A lot of shirts, mostly black. Get a lot of black shirts at these events. And this is so we're talking about NAMM. Happens in January and generally June or July. This year's it's in June. Summer NAMM is Nashville, and it's not as big as the Winter NAMM. So Winter NAMM's in LA, and it's much, much, much bigger. And there's all different kinds of manufacturers. You've probably seen videos on YouTube and Facebook and everything else talking about it, especially around January. You basically can't watch anything but NAMM videos, it seems like, for about a month and a half because there's just so much content that people put out from being at NAMM, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Right.
It's a huge, I mean, I don't know how many hundred, I think everyone that listens to this knows what NAMM is, but for those that don't, just imagine hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people. I am, there again, sure everyone knows what that is. If you're listening to this, anyway.
If you don't, that's what it is.
Yeah. We could not possibly have condensed that any further.
No.
No, had to be done that way.
I was trying to build the story, Blake. Help me out here. I'm trying to build the story. I'm trying to get away from my cliff-noted version of speaking. I've been told that I don't elaborate enough on things. I'm just like, boom, right to the point and it's over. And they're like, I kind of wanted some more meat, you know? So
That's not been my experience, but maybe it's because we're like an old married couple at this point, and I just know what you're going to say.
So, if we're like an old married couple, am I allowed to eat crackers in bed?
I mean, I'm fine with it because technically Amanda's got to deal with it.
That's true. That's true.
Anyways, but the point is, why we were talking about it is because we were talking about, you know, stuff like we always do off the mic, things that are even less on topic than what is on the mic. And one thing that happens a lot to me, and I don't know if you get this question as much as I do, but I get builders asking me if NAMM is worth doing. Should I do NAMM? And I don't know. I've got lots of thoughts on that. But you are somebody that has done NAMM for years. So I thought maybe we could riff on that a little bit.
Well, I think my first NAMM was 2008, Summer NAMM 2008. And prior to that, I was definitely much smaller. And I went to NAMM with the plan and a purpose. You know, that plan was to try to corner as many retailers as I can and beg them profusely to sell my product in their stores. Not really big, but you know what I mean. To basically talk, you know, network with other retailers, hang out with them, get to know them, let them get to know me, and hopefully we can do business together. And so I really worked it from that point of view, and it helped us a lot. And it has changed over the years. Now Summer NAMM is not as much. There's not as much buying and selling that goes on. In the business to business world, not business to consumer. Technically, you're actually not allowed to sell any product to consumers there. You just take orders for, you know, from retailers and distributors. So even now that like Winter NAMM is kind of that place to take orders, we still do really well, but there's it's the way our business is, because most of our business actually comes from retailers. It's not too much direct, which is a different model than a lot of other guys are doing, like, you know, Sean from Love Pedal, for example, where he's almost entirely, if not entirely direct. He may have some outside retailers. I don't know off the top of my head, but it's just a different model. Not that one is better than the other. There's advantages and disadvantages. But for a company like ours, when we're really focused on getting into more and more stores, then it helps us tremendously. But you got to work it that way. If you don't, you're going to throw $10,000 or $15,000 down the drain in a hurry. Over the course of like a weekend. Yes.
Yeah. So and that is what I always try to tell people. I'm like, okay, like, first of all, if you're questioning whether, in my opinion, and don't take any of this to mean this applies to every situation because everyone's unique, but in my opinion, if you're wondering if you should display at NAMM or not, and you don't like know definitively that you should, then you probably shouldn't. Because, you know, the with small businesses, the thing is, to me, can you find a more efficient way to spend that kind of money, or not spend it at all, or, you know, leverage something it into
more
areas.
beneficial. Yeah, there's something more beneficial, and then this really even applies to, you know, let's say you own a flower shop and you're going to a floral convention. It's the same sort of deal. There's advantages and disadvantages depending on your type of business with going to conventions and networking with others. There's all the disadvantages. If that's not your business model, if you're not an outgoing person and you're not the kind that's going to jump in the aisle and grab people and be like, "Hey, what's up? Won't you come here and check out our stuff?" Then you're going to have a hard time because it's a very extroverted event. You got to you're going to get a lot more mileage if you are that extrovert who's reaching out to talk to everyone within 40 feet of you.
Yeah, for sure.
I've seen a lot of booths where people, they're just sitting, kind of looking down at their phone, waiting for someone to walk up. You just peed away a lot of money.
That's the thing. You really do, and you need to have somebody, and you don't need to hassle people, but you need to like have somebody out there like, hey, you like guitar stuff,
right?
You look like a person who might be interested in fuzz. Let me show you something.
And not like in the nasty, guy who's got a trench coat and he opens his trench coat and he's got a bunch of fake Rolexes. Not in that kind of context. Like I think we've talked about this before. Like you really have to care about what you're doing and what you're talking about. That comes across to people if you're just like, hey, I got pedals. Do you want some? You want to check them out? I got a lot of them,
You don't? Okay. See you later.
I mean, it's you got to actually care about what you're doing.
And I think most people do, or they wouldn't do it, this business. But I just I'm always very cautious about people advising people to go do that when I'm relatively a NAMM newbie. I've been 3 times. And it really was eye-opening for me. Like I go, okay, this example, like you or Keeley or somebody else, yes, they definitely should do it. But then I've seen some brands that I'm like, ooh, not great timing. You're not there yet to where this makes sense.
Right.
You could have spent that same amount of money on a well-designed Facebook ad campaign and got way more mileage out of it that you can directly measure. Right. So it totally...
And it converts into immediate sales, or more immediate sales, rather.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's what I always think is just like, really look at your situation and your goals. If your goal is to build your direct sales, NAMM's not necessary either. In my opinion. Not in this day and age. Back in the day, it was the only way. But in this digital age that we're living in, I just don't... I have a hard time advising people that that's money well spent when I think that there's just other ways to do it. Of course, I'm very digitally oriented, so I'm kind of biased in that regard.
Yeah, it's very similar to paper magazine ads. Over time, the cost grows tremendously. It's grown a lot for a full page for any magazine ad at all. And if anyone's bought a guitar magazine lately, I'm sure they notice that it's fairly thick, and 85 at least % of it are ads. Generally, there's a lot of ads, a lot of quarter page ads, a lot of half page ads, and of course there is the full page ads as well. And that's that stuff can be effective a bit, but I mean let's say a full page magazine ad is $3,000. What else can you do with that $3,000 to generate sales quickly? It ain't magazine ads.
No, no, it's not.
That's the magazine ad is the billboard. It's like a bill. Like who looks at a billboard and then goes to the website to buy something? No one, or very few people.
Almost never, because you're driving.
Exactly.
Please don't try to go to the website while you're driving, please, by the way.
You'd be surprised. I've seen a lot of people reading books while driving down a highway. Not books, but like reading. I assume they're reading some sort of iBook because they're staring at their phone a lot.
Sure got their attention. It must be an engrossing story. Couldn't possibly be a cat video.
No, sure it's not. Not a Pinterest page at all.
No. So, I mean... I guess that's the story with both of them, right? Is that a good place to spend money when you're just starting out? Probably not. For some people, situations, strategies, yes. But I think, for the guy who's just looking to make that next step, it probably isn't generally the answer.
Right.
Am I wrong?
I do not think so. I've seen, well, one company in particular I saw, and Blake, you'll know who I'm talking about. I saw, I don't want to throw any names out there, so I had to be a little vague. I saw them go from $0 to $300,000 a year in sales pretty much overnight based on one Facebook ad. Effective, fairly cheesy, but apparently it was effective. They sell primarily on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was a guy who his girlfriend had bought him pedal after pedal. And he's like, "Oh, you're the best, babe. I love you so much. I love you. I love you so much." And you're like, come on, man. You got a board full of Strymons and you just went crazy over a $40 delay. That's not really how this works. But it was effective because every girlfriend on earth bought their boyfriend a $40 pedal on Amazon.
Mm-hmm. No, I think it was like, I seen it and went, Brian, have you seen this? And he's like, "Oh, that ad's so annoying." And then, they did great. It was a great move on their part, honestly.
Yeah. And I know the guy that runs the company, super nice guy. He loves the design aspect, but his real skill and strength is marketing. He's a bright young man. I say that like he's a bright young man.
I was just about to do that same thing.
I was just out the side playing hopscotch. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he's a bright younger guy,
I was gonna just do that same exact voice as right as you did.
These whippersnappers these days, they don't know how good they got it.
With our Facebook ads and everything. Back in my day, we had to go to NAMM.
Back in my day, we had to go out to California.
Mm-hmm.
Black Gold, Texas Sea. Anyways, what was I saying? I totally lost my train of thought with my old man.
Well,
voice.
we were talking about, is there a better way to spend money? And like, as he kind of proved starting out, yeah, there is.
Yes, definitely. Hang on, I got to move my thingy. It's going to be a little noisy here. Sorry, podcast listeners. It's always a problem when your thingy needs moved on your microphone.
Yes.
Yeah. So, we've talked many times about how to market your guitar pedal or guitar or amp business in this day and age, and the same things still apply. They really do.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in a nutshell, we can recap here at 20 some minutes or whatever. If you have sort of an awareness so far, like let's say you're not a brand new company out of the gate, people know who you are, and your goal is to get a lot of retailers, and you are an outgoing person who loves to talk to people and go out to dinner and have relationships and what most would call wine and dine, but that sounds so kind of selfish.
Sounds a little weird.
Yeah, it's not really that. It's just you really are building friendships with people, and it's network. It's really just networking. So if you have that ability, then NAMM might be a good thing for you, but you got to have a plan. You got to go into the plan. You can't just wing it. You'll not get your money's worth. But on the other hand, if you're a company that has limited finances, maybe you're even fairly new to the game, I probably would focus on some of the newer marketing methods focused around influencer marketing and content creation marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're asking what an influencer is, an influencer is someone who is of influence to people like us. So that would be your Pete Thorns, your RJ Ronquillo. That's the name.
Yep.
Your I'm drawing a blank here. Your Brett Kingmans, your Tone
Andy
Mobs,
Martin.
Andy Martin, of course. Like all these people who put out videos around products. Those are influencers. That's the technical term for them, influencer. Not that they, most of them aren't starting out to become an influencer. Most of them are just starting out because they like talking about gear, and they're good in a certain area and they become an influencer to people. And so that's one way is to get your product in their hands. That way they can demo your product. Two paths there. One is the honest, unbiased review. The other one is the paid review, right? So generally reviews like Brett Kingman. Love Brett, so this is not a slam on him anyway. This is just his business model. He does reviews. People pay him money, and he gets the pedal, and he does a review on it, and that's what you get. He does, he makes the video, talks about its strengths and how the parts that he likes about it, makes a video, edits it, puts it on YouTube, calls it a day. And then you have other people that will go out and buy their own pedal from somewhere, and they'll do their unbiased review. And sometimes, I saw this happen last week, sometimes they get that pedal and they totally rip apart that company. Now, I'm not a fan of that. I think that's pretty unprofessional, personally. But I have seen that here recently. And I did reach out to the guy, and I was like, dude, don't sweat it. Like, because he was like freaking out. Like, this is the end of my business. I'm like, dude, don't sweat it. This is just one random dude on the internet. It's okay. Like, it's not the end of your business. So, anyways, that's all I've got to say about that.
Let me see if I can rearrange that a little bit. Basically, what Brian said in the beginning was a strategy that I definitely agree with. Obviously I'm pretty biased to digital marketing formats, because that's what I do. And the reason you brought up the influencer thing, we should probably clarify, is that's actually a question when we answer things. You and I answer the questions with a very similar set of ideas. Right. We share a lot of the same ideas.
That's because we're both right.
Well, of course. But why he was trying to unpack what an influencer is because that's actually a question we get when we say, yeah, you should reach out to influencers. That's like a common question. They're like, well, what does that mean? And, we kind of think that that's commonplace because we study digital marketing stuff. So we forget that most people don't even, they know who Andy is, but they may not realize that that's what people think of him as in the guitar space. He's right. The influencer who creates great content for companies to use and get in front of people.
Right.
And, and yeah, that happens with Instagram people. It happens, obviously on YouTube. There's any number of people that could fit into the quote unquote influencer category. And some people think that that's like a bad or derogatory term when it's not. It's just, what else do you call them? Because it takes so many different shapes. That's like saying all magazines are the same. Right. Or they're not, clearly. And all influencers aren't the same either. And some of them, they basically everyone has different ways that they spread their message, and you need to find the one that you like and is willing to work with you, and you guys can make some really cool things together, and then you put them out there for people to consume. And we haven't done a marketing episode in a long time.
It's been a bit, yeah.
This is essentially what it's all about, is getting your product or service or whatever in front of as many people as you can who are the right kind of people. And if they're watching guitar videos, they're probably guitar players. So
right. And so you got to think about it. If you're going to spend $10,000 on NAMM, and let's say the average video costs, let's say it's $500 a video. Well, that's a heck of a lot of traffic and notoriety and branding awareness if you take that $10,000 and get it in the hands of all the Andy Martins in the gear world.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to buy you a lot more. It's going to buy you a lot more for your money. You're going to get a lot more traffic from that. A much bigger advantage.
Yeah, it's just a more efficient ad spend, because that's essentially what it is. It's a marketing budget. And if you don't have a marketing budget, we're not saying you have to spend $10,000. You can do some of this yourself for nothing. It costs you $0 to open an Instagram account. Right. And you'd be surprised at how many builders don't even know about that platform, hardly.
Or understand how it works.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people, like Instagram, for example. A lot of people think that Instagram is where you put an ad out. Look, here's my pedal. Look, here's my pedal. Look, here's my pedal. Here's my other pedal. Here's my other pedal. And the truth is, you gotta stop being selfish. You gotta think, what do people want to see? Like, what kind of stuff are other people looking at? Let's look at some pages that are real popular. What kind of stuff are they putting out? And how many likes are they getting on it? How many comments are they getting on it? And you have to be very aware of that and study that, because that's the avenue you want to go down. You want to see what others are doing with success, and then you do the same but different or a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. Well, and there's other things that you need to realize too, that that platform is really awesome for companies to use and utilize. I mean, for instance, there's a project that I'm working on that I can't fully talk about yet, but soon, hopefully. And I went ahead and grabbed the Instagram handle and threw up some very, very like nebulous content that like doesn't really make a lot of sense. But it's something. And there's already like 130 followers, and I've done almost nothing with the account, is the point. Mm-hmm. So it's a powerful platform. It's like, what other format could you do very little actual work and already have 100 people paying attention?
Right.
I mean, try doing that in the street.
Right.
Like, it's not going to work.
That's very true.
So anyway,
I remember
this kind of went all over the digital marketing spot, which we weren't totally intending on doing.
No, that's fine. That's fine. We're, money. Get your money back on this episode if you don't like it.
That's true. We will return it.
I'm kidding. You can delete that sucker right off your iPhone. It's funny. We're talking about digital marketing, and I was sitting here thinking, back when I was a youngster trying to get my start into the remodeling world, I printed out flyers. I got them printed out, and I used to go to house and put my little flyer on doors. The world's gotten a lot easier to start your own business in. That was a lot of work.
Yeah, because how many of those ended up in the trash?
Well, yeah,
99% of them, of course. But
exactly, and imagine driving around, I don't know, 30 by 30, so 900 square miles to every neighborhood you possibly can, with thousands of stupid little flyers trying to park your car, walk up to the door, put it on the door, go to the next house, over and over again for days at a time.
I believe it. I mean, I did some of that as a youngster too. Like literally like going and posting signs at the local supermarket like, "Hey, I can come mow your grass, please." Somebody let me come mow your grass. Like, I mean, I did all that same stuff too, because it just wasn't available.
Did you have a picture? You probably had a picture of yourself on it, like, "This is a guy that can be trusted." Arrows pointing to your picture. You want this handsome guy mowing your grass.
I remember, this is kind of random, but since we're talking business on this stuff, my first probably like actual sort of business there was a lot of, building and remodeling and housing developments going in around my parents' place when I was growing up. And I was about 12. And I figured out that if I went to the store, my parents helped me figure this out. It wasn't entirely my idea. I could buy a couple cases of soda, and they would only be, if you got the right coupons, you could get them down to like 12 cents a can. And then I would throw it in a cooler, put it in my trailer, and go pedal around the neighborhood and hope that those construction guys would want some soda. And you know what? They did. And it was just the right. I was delivering the right product to the right people at the right time, because they would pay a whole $1 for that soda.
That's hardcore entrepreneurship right there.
It was that kind of took me back. That was actually pretty difficult. That trailer was heavy, and I had one gear.
Was it tied to your big wheel?
It was tied to the back of my bicycle.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Anyway, I'm not sure what this episode's titled, but NAMM, is it worth it? Maybe.
The last episode was me being completely caffeinated, like overly caffeinated. And I couldn't hold two thoughts together at a time and think straight at all. This one is just a little bit of the same thing. It's just the not caffeinated version. This is Brian's been out in
the slower version.
Brian, it's 96 degrees in here, and Brian is sweating like well, I hate to use the same cliche, like a middle-aged, balding, fat man in a metal shed. Oh yeah, that's me.
That's what it is. Well, Brian, before you die of heat stroke, do you want to wrap this up with any thoughts?
Sure. So obviously this isn't going to pertain to everyone, but I think it's a good thing to think about because, and very much because, more than likely, a lot of you listening you're either younger or you're a little bit older and you have younger kids. And your kids are going to be going through this stage, or you might be going through the stage where you're trying to figure out, what am I going to do with my life? Should I go to college? Should I, find a good job somewhere? But what do I do when all this technology eliminates jobs? Like, all this doom and gloom stuff. And I think it's very helpful to know a little bit about the marketing stuff, because then it opens up huge worlds to you that you never thought were possible. Like, for example, you can start a guitar pedal company simply based around the fact that you like to tear apart pedals and work on them. And you can teach others how to do it. And then that can build your name. And then eventually you can make your own product and sell it to other people who like guitar pedals. And that doesn't apply just to guitar pedals. It applies to a lot of stuff. So if you figured that part out and you're just like, now what do I do with this? I'm selling a few on Reverb, I'm selling a few on eBay, but I'm just not able to make that next jump and make my side hustle my full-time hustle. Well, then now is the time where you go two ways. You either learn all the marketing stuff. Marketing is not a bad word, by the way. You either learn all the marketing stuff, or you hire someone else to do it for you. And that's how it works.
Pretty much. That is your option.
That's how I would wrap this up anyways. That, and it's hot in here.
Okay. Well, we'll let you go out and breathe in the fresh air and stop sweating so much. So I'll talk to you next time, Mr. Wampler.
Later.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Chasing Tone podcast. I really appreciate it. Hope you guys like it. Love doing these for you. If you have any comments or questions, please email podcast@wamplerpedals.com. Love to hear from you. Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you next week.